I am a lot of things. I am an intellectual, I am an activist, I am a mother, a wife, a partner, a lot of different things. I am also a full-time life coach. And when people find that out about me, it tends to generate questions, which is natural. Sometimes the questions are very general about life coaching as an industry or about personal development, and sometimes they're a lot more specific to my practice. So in this video, I'm going to address 10 of the most frequently asked questions that I receive about my personal coaching practice. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Leslie, and like I said at the top of the video, I am a full-time life coach based here in Brisbane, Australia. Now, one of the reasons I started my channel about 2 years ago was to try to clear up some of the misconceptions about coaching, try to educate people a little bit more about what coaching is all about, what I'm all about, to let people get to know me and what my values are. And I have made some videos addressing some of the specific questions I've received about my coaching and what I'm all about. So I will throw some links to those in throughout the length of this video. And a lot of this information is also on my website, leslievcoaching.com, so make sure you check that out. And there's also a fairly detailed About Me section, so if you really want to suss me out, please go look at that. All right, let's get into some questions. Question number 1. If I have a problem, shouldn't I see a therapist or a counselor instead of a life coach? That depends on what the problem is. My very first YouTube video actually addressed this question in quite a bit of detail. To sum it up, life coaching and psychotherapy have some common characteristics, and there are things that overlap, but in practice, they are quite different services. Rather than diagnosing a mental health condition or trying to help someone heal from a past trauma, coaching focuses more on outlining action steps towards goal achievement. It's focused a lot more on the present and the future as opposed to the past to the present. So this means that most of the time when a client comes to see me for the first time, they're already at a suitable base level of functioning, but they still want something more out of their life. They want to accomplish something specific, or they want help choosing a new direction. They are looking for greater fulfillment. I have had clients come see me for the first time, and after one session, will say things like, "Oh my gosh, I've gotten so much more out of this 1 hour than I have from years of therapy, from years of counseling." And that does not mean that coaching is a superior approach for everyone's context. I'm not going to pretend that that's the case. All right? I've been a patient of various mental health professionals multiple times in my life. I am a proponent of all of those practices, very much so. But what it does illustrate is that sometimes when someone is seeking out a particular type of support, they encounter a mismatch between what they need and what that particular practitioner, with the particular modality or technique or practice they may be offering. And sometimes that's because of a lack of proper communication. Sometimes it's because the help that is being offered is appropriate at the time, but the needs of the client might change, whereas the help that's being offered doesn't necessarily adapt to those changes. What I am saying here is that sometimes when people think they need a therapist or similar, they might actually need a coach. But I cannot say that without saying that it is a very delicate situation. As a coach, I have a great responsibility to identify when my client's needs might be changing and how the relationship needs to adapt to those changing needs. And if someone starts exhibiting behavior that I find very worrying, I will refer them to someone who can help them through a mental health crisis, for example. I am trained and certified in mental health first aid. So my role at that point is to make sure that that client is receiving the help that they need. Question number 2. So, what is it you actually do? I work with my clients to develop a tailored personal development curriculum to help them live more fulfilling lives. How do I do that? Let me explain. First and foremost, I listen, which may seem a little obvious, but when I say that I listen, I mean that I provide a space for my client to say whatever it is that is happening in their lives without making any assumptions about them, without any judgments about their behaviors, without interrupting. Yeah, I don't talk at people. I do ask a lot of questions, different types of questions, probing questions, more general questions, sometimes like funnel questions. There are a lot of different, quite well-defined question types that can help guide a conversation into one direction or another. So in asking questions based on what my client is telling me about their situation, about their goals, and so on, I can then help them see from an outsider's perspective those little things that they might not be able to identify in their own personal narrative that could be holding them back from achieving a goal, or things that can be contributing to persistent limiting beliefs. And it's this constant process of reflection. I also help to develop action plans. I have documents that we use to do this, where the vision statements are solidified, where the challenges, the resources are outlined, where certain actions are outlined with specific date and time, in some cases, deadlines, for when I and the client have agreed this particular task will be completed. And I check in from time to time to see what kind of progress is being made or not being made. And if there is some sort of a problem or a challenge, we address it together. One thing I do not do is tell my clients to simply manifest their dreams and rely on affirmations and spiritual practices and nothing else, and just expect and just wait for good things to come to them. I'm not that kind of life coach, all right? My practice is firmly grounded in reality. There is a place for spirituality. There is a place for manifestation practices. There is a place for positive affirmations, of course. But if you run into a life coach who just wants to regurgitate the 7 habits to you, or just wants you to sit back and transcend all the real problems in the world, they're not going to help you get anywhere. It's just not going to happen. There needs to be practical action taken based on the client's real life context. That's what I do. I come from an academic background. I was a professional curriculum development team member for a lot of years when I was working in schools and universities all over the world. I really value structure and record keeping and data and evidence. So that's my jam. That's how I work. I also provide very customized support that's very situation specific for each client. So what I've explained here is not an exhaustive explanation of how I help people. It's just an overview of the general practice that I undertake. For my Vanguard package clients, so that's my top tier package, I also create customized worksheets after every session. Now the purpose of that is to have a very clear, at-a-glance resource that leaves no questions about what my expectations are for that client to achieve before the next session, or about the agreements that we've made about the progress that that person will aspire to. Question number 3. Why did you become a life coach? Well, the short answer is that I used to teach at a university. I've taught at a couple of universities, actually, and a lot of different places all around the world. And in my most recent position, I found that I became so much more drawn to guiding my students to succeed academically by focusing on those underlying skills, those underlying behaviors around time management, around cultural concerns, around self-belief, and all of the things that need to be in place for a university student to succeed academically. And over time, the academic side of things became less interesting to me than those very important foundational skills. So I decided at that point to really lean into whatever education I could take on to further develop more concrete skills and concrete frameworks to help my students in that way. And in my research for how to make that happen, I decided, okay, life coaching. That's what it's going to be. I'll study while I'm working. I maybe will launch a business on the side, build it up a little bit. Maybe one day I'll go full time and it'll be great. But then my job started to really suck. The workplace environment, the workplace culture became very toxic. There were all these decisions being made on a management level that were just very detrimental to the well-being of staff, to the progress of students. And I was on the academic board representing all of the educators in my department and still felt powerless to actually affect real change in that context. So, long story short, I had to get out of there. And it was towards the end of one semester that I said, wow, this is awful, and I literally don't have to be here. I don't have to be here anymore. So instead of starting coaching as a side gig, which is a very common way into coaching, I finished that semester, and that was it. I didn't go back to that job. I was finishing up my life coaching certificate, and I launched full-time from the beginning. Haven't looked back. Question number 4. What qualifies you to coach people? I'll start with my professional background. I've spent many years working in the USA, in Asia, in Europe, and now in Australia. I've been an educator, a curriculum developer, a trainer, and with teaching and things like that's 80% coaching. I mean, let's be honest. So in these various roles, one of the core components was identifying gaps in understanding or in training of students, of people on marketing teams and such, and then filling those gaps, matching them with the resources that they need and the skills that they need to succeed. When I was working at RMIT in Melbourne, I was on the curriculum development team. I was designing an online course that I then had to train people how to use and how to sell to some of our international partners. Educationally, my qualifications include a master's degree in applied linguistics. You may be familiar with the concept of NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, which focuses on how verbal and nonverbal communication is used and how it impacts our actions and our beliefs. Applied linguistics is a much more in-depth approach to understanding the intricacies of human communication, especially in cross-cultural contexts. There are so many moving parts to the way people communicate in various contexts that one of the things I really work hard on tapping into is identifying communication styles that my clients are using and helping to improve those aspects of their life so that they can have better relationships with people. I have a very deep connection with language and communication. I do use elements of NLP in my practice, but it's just one tool that I have in my arsenal to help people understand their own actions and behaviors better, and then use that information to help my clients get better results, more sustainable results. I also have a certificate specifically in life coaching that I obtained through a governmentally approved program here in Australia. This is delivered by the Life Coaching Institute of Australia, which cross-pollinates with the Australian Institute of Professional Counselors. So we study together, we practice together, we train together. It's all very carefully monitored and regulated. It's nothing wishy-washy about it. And that's what I loved about my training. There were a lot of different units on various psychological practices, various therapeutic methods, different theories, and things that we could then apply directly in a coaching setting based on rigorous research, based on scientific evidence published in journals, and all of that. I also come from a family of helping professionals. Now, my dad is an engineer by trade, and throughout his full-time career as an engineer, he was also a mentor, and now he runs his own engineering consultancy business. He's actually started a YouTube channel as well, so definitely check that out. My sister was a social worker, and she's retrained to become a therapist. My mother was a counselor for over 30 years, mainly working with children with behavioral difficulties. My husband is a philosopher, and he also teaches applied positive psychology at a local high school. So coaching is something that I'm very committed to. It's not something I'm just trying out. And it's bolstered by the fact that I've been surrounded by people who have been committed to the ongoing examination of human behavior and perceptions. In fact, Tony, my husband, and I are so committed to this examination of behaviors and perceptions that we actually named our daughter Qualia. Qualia is a physical concept referring to the raw sensory perceptions that people hold, that we each individually hold in our minds, that literally cannot be measured from one person to another. Things like color, things like pain. Is your red the same as my red? I'm wearing a lot of purple right now, feeling a bit like Violet Beauregard. But my purple might look like your green, and we have no way of knowing if we're perceiving things the same way. So that's our kid's name. Question number 5. Where will my appointments take place? Answer: right here. When we're in this room together, this couch is yours. My office is specifically set up for my face-to-face coaching sessions. I don't share it with anyone. I don't have to try to, fight for a room booking. It's just always here. And one of the reasons that's so important to me is, firstly, it creates a private space to be able to talk freely about some pretty potentially challenging, very intimate conversations. I don't meet people in cafes. I don't meet people in noisy public places. One reason for that is that it can be really distracting, and it can be really hard to open up fully if you think someone might be listening in on a conversation. Whereas in here, no one can hear you. There isn't a lot of background noise that's gonna scramble up your thinking, and it's brilliant. I also meet clients online. I've got some international clients, or some who sometimes just can't make it into the office for whatever reason, so we just jump on a Zoom call. And it's great. For my Zoom sessions, I also record them and supply them to clients so you can revisit everything we talked about if you so choose. That leads in nicely to question number 6. Do you coach people over the phone? As in, not on Zoom or video calling? My short answer is no. It's not that I refuse to, it's that I really prefer not to. When we can see each other's faces, there's so much nonverbal information available for us to really understand what we're communicating. From a practical standpoint as well, phones can make it really hard to hear a conversation appropriately. It makes it really easy to get distracted and to let your mind wander. If I'm talking to someone on the phone, I don't know if they might be doing something else at the same time. And I don't want to have to police their background noise either in order to be heard and in order to hear them. That's uncomfortable for everybody. I don't like having to ask someone to repeat themselves because I couldn't hear them over the sound of their housemate washing dishes or some other audio problem they might be having with the phone. If we're doing a quick check-in call, that's fine. If someone calls me to ask some preliminary questions before they come see me, then that's great too. But when we're really trying to dive deep into a scenario, my aim is for crystal clear communication as much as is possible. And I do my best work when I've got all of this available to a listener. And I only want to give people my best work. So it's not a refusal to do phone coaching, it's I don't really like coaching over the phone. So video it is, or in person. Question number 7. What if I don't know what my goals are yet? Can you still help me? Yeah. A lot of people come to me because they're feeling stuck. Words like stagnant or words like in a rut come up. People sometimes know that they want to change something about their lives. They don't really know what they want to change or how to go about it. Or in some cases they do know, but they're having trouble admitting it to themselves or just recognizing it officially. So that's where I come in. One thing that I always do with clients in the beginning of my relationship with them is complete exercises that focus on core values and core character strengths. And there's also an initial assessment of various life categories that we then build on to determine which areas of your life need to be addressed more immediately and how addressing that can bring other aspects of life into a better degree of balance. So life coaching is not just about coming in with a goal and then achieving that goal. It's about outlining potential goals as well, even if those goals may be quite broad or they can be very specific as well. Question number 8. What if I have a mental illness or I am suicidal? Can you help me? I am trained and certified in mental health first aid, but I do not provide a mental health service. If I recognize that a client is in immediate danger due to risk of self-harm, I will direct that client and work with that client to pursue the most appropriate kind of health treatments for them. Or if someone tells me that they are planning on harming themselves, then that's when I break my confidentiality to make sure that they get immediate attention by someone equipped, trained, certified to manage those situations. Again, life coaching is not an emergency mental health service. That doesn't mean that I don't work with people who have mental health conditions. I just normally request confirmation from their psychologist, from another, from their primary healthcare practitioner, that my working with them will be a good supplement to the work that they are doing together. Because to try to coach someone out of anxiety and depression or something like that would be incredibly unethical. And I'm saying that as well as a person with a history of depression and anxiety. I will not go there. But I know who I can refer people to who will go there. Question number 9. Can we speak first before committing to a coaching package? The answer is yes. In fact, it is a requirement. I offer a free initial consultation, which is seen as a bit of a no-no in some coaching circles, but I will not accept any form of payment from someone until we have both determined that their expectations match what I can offer them. Now, the reason that I do that isn't just to get people in the door, but it's also because I've been that person who has gone to see someone saying, look, I've got this issue, I really need help with this, these are the details, can you help me? And then I've had that person go, no, I can't help you. Here's the name of someone who can help you. Now that'll be $280, please. And I don't want to do that to anyone. And those situations are not pleasant. And it hasn't happened often that someone has come to me and I said, oh, well, I can't help you. Most of the time it's like, good, great, let's do this. But we need to know that we're on the same page. The truth is, if someone comes to me for free consultation, we go, yeah, great, let's do this. And then they never come back, so I never get any money from them. That's okay too. I don't see it as a waste of my time. Any coaching experience I have with someone provides very valuable experience for me. And if we're not a match, they might know someone who is a match, and so it all comes full circle. It all works itself out eventually, as far as I'm concerned anyway. And that free consultation can happen here in my office, it can happen on Zoom. Again, if it's a full consultation, I'd rather not do it just on the phone, but I'm not going to exist behind a solid paywall when what I really want to do is connect with people and find out what people need. And finally, question number 10. I really think my child / partner / roommate / cousin / sister needs to see a life coach. Can I bring them to see you? You can refer them to me. You can call and ask me questions. You can encourage them to come see me. But it's important to note that once that person consensually comes into my office to have that first consultation, that person is my client. That relationship is what's bound by confidentiality, and that person's needs are what I'm going to address. If you're a parent with a child who needs coaching, I'm not going to be consulting with you about all of the ins and outs of what we've discussed, because my primary concern at that stage is that client's success, that client's well-being. The truth is, everyone knows someone who needs a life coach. You can probably think of 5 people off the top of your head right now who you know personally, who really need some direction and some clarity, or a complete mindset shift in their lives. But the bottom line is that they also need to want that support, because it will require work on their part, and it will require developing a personal relationship with me as a confidant. So if you are sharing my videos with this person, if you have shown them my website and done whatever you need to do to make them comfortable with the idea of booking in for that first consultation, that's great. But if you want to drag someone in here by force because you want them to start behaving in a way that's more acceptable for you, we're gonna have to have a different conversation. And now, a bonus question. How can I book a free consultation to see you? I'm glad you asked. You can go to my website, leslievcoaching.com, click on the Book Now button, choose a date and time. It'll come up in your time zone. It'll send me a message. You'll have that time booked in. Rock and roll. But if you're not booking directly through my site, or you need a consultation that's outside of my available listed hours, then you can get in touch a different way. You can call me, email me, slide into my DMs, and we'll work something out. So that was 11 of the most frequently asked questions that I get when people find out about my life coaching business. If you've got any questions you want to add to this list, leave me a comment, send me a message, and I love answering questions. I love asking questions, I love answering questions. So any question you want to give me, I will consider a gift. And if you have just watched this whole video, I thank you for enduring my slight speaking difficulties as I deal with the healing process of my relatively new piercing. But it's a problem of my choosing, so I'm cool with that. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching, and if you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and share it with someone else who can benefit from it. Subscribe to my channel and hit the notifications bell so you know exactly when I've uploaded a new video. I'm Leslie V, and I'll see you in the next video.